Joining me now is the Vice Chair of the Senate Intelligence Committee, Mark Warner of Virginia. Senator Warner, welcome back to Meet the Press.
Thank you, Chuck.
You also interviewed Michael Cohen this week. I think you had him the day before his House testimony.
9 hours.
9 hours, fair enough. So, and we had pretty much an 8 or 9 hour public hearing. So how was the exchange behind closed doors different than what the public saw on Wednesday?
Well, first of all, let's realize this is a guy who was back before us because he had lied to our Intelligence Committee about the fact that the ongoing negotiations on a tower to be built in Moscow went way beyond what he said and, frankly, what Donald Trump said. And I do think it's curious that Mr. Trump had spent more than a decade trying to build a building in Moscow, didn't get much traction. Suddenly he becomes a candidate for president, and he's got all kinds of offers.
Is that the only thing he lied about that you know of right now?
Well, again, we've got the three things that are in the public domain that I think we need further investigation. How long were the negotiations going on for a Trump Tower in Moscow? Obviously beyond January. Did they go beyond even the convention? The president's lawyer, Rudy Giuliani, said they may have gone on through all the way through the election. I think most voters would have liked to have known that piece of information before they voted. Secondly, this allegation...
Is that a crime, though?
Well, it's not necessarily a crime. I'll let lawyers make a determination on that. But it would be sure as heck a relevant fact that a candidate for president was trying to negotiate with a foreign power, Russia, offering the leader of that foreign power, Putin, a $50 million free penthouse. I think most Americans would say that's a relevant piece of information. The other two pieces of information that I think we need more on, Mr. Trump has said he didn't know anything about the WikiLeaks dump of information detrimental to Clinton. Mr. Cohen says that he was in the office when Trump took a call from Julian Assange right a day or two before the dump of the information. We need to find out if that's true or not. And then we also heard testimony that Donald Trump Jr., at least, indicated to Donald Trump about the infamous now Trump Tower meeting that included the president's son, the president's son-in-law, the president's campaign manager. Again, that meeting was not about Russian adoptions. It was about offering dirt on Hillary Clinton. We need to find out if all those things are true. Was
your entire focus of your portion of Michael Cohen only about the Russia portion, or did you also spend time in the Trump Organization and the various outside of Russia parameters that you've been focused on?
Some of those facts came up. Some of the tawdry and inappropriate behavior, some of the payoffs, but that was not something that we focused on. Our investigation is the only bipartisan investigation that's still focused on counterintelligence. What happened in 2016, what level of collaboration, collusion, how do we make sure it doesn't happen again in the future?
Why do you believe Michael Cohen's suddenly telling you the truth now when he lied to you last time?
This guy does not have a lot of veracity. We need to get documents. We are receiving additional documents from him to prove or disprove. But I'd also say Donald Trump doesn't exactly have a great record of telling the truth as well.
I want to play something that your the chair of the committee said not too long ago, Richard Burr. Take a listen.
Well, I'm not sure how to put it any clearer than I said it before. We have no factual evidence of collusion between the Trump campaign and Russia.
What does that mean, no factual evidence?
Well, again, Richard Burr and I have worked together very well. We're going to continue to work together. I think there is enormous amounts of evidence. What you do with that evidence, where it leads, I'm reserving my judgment until we finish the investigation.
Is it fair to call it circumstantial right now?
Well, let's go through the litany of what we know. The ongoing negotiations about Trump Tower well into the campaign. I believe the fact that Mr. Trump knew about the dump of the WikiLeaks material. The fact that clearly the meeting at Trump Tower meeting, which was not described appropriately in terms of offering dirt. The president's campaign manager sharing information, polling information with the Russians. The earlier instance where Russians were offering through one of the campaign aides Papadopoulos information. To me, that's all evidence. Where that evidence leads in terms of a conclusion, and we've still got some of those key people to come back, I'm going to reserve judgment until I'm finished. But there's no one that could factually say there's not plenty of evidence of collaboration or communications between Trump Organization and Russians.
There's a report in the Washington Post that indicates that your committee and the House Intelligence Committee, that one other angle to Michael Cohen's testimony has to do with a pardon. our pardon shopping. What more can you tell us about this issue? Are you investigating whether a pardon offer was serious or not to Michael Cohen?
Chuck, I cannot comment on what went on in classified setting.
Why? I say this because at some point it's starting to become, you know, it comes across as innuendo when you can't say certain things, and yet we see reports about it.
When we receive information in a classified setting, we will investigate things that come up in classified settings. There will be an appropriate time to have the reveal, but when we hear things in a classified setting, you know, that's the duty I took on as vice chairman of the Intelligence Committee.
So you won't say whether this Washington Post story is correct or not?
I'm not going to comment. I'm not going to comment on that story.
All right, I want to throw another soundbite at you from the president yesterday. Take a listen.
If you use your rights, if you use your power, if you use Article 2, it's called obstruction, but only for Trump, for nobody else.
So he's basically saying his firing of James, I mean, this is about the firing of James Comey, that you cannot interpret that under any way as obstruction. Is that fair?
Well, again, I'll let lawyers make better judgments, but I'll tell you this. An investigation into the president and his organization, his campaign, involvement with Russians, a foreign power, a foreign adversarial power, a power that this president has said nary a negative word about, a Russian despot that he frankly kowtowed to in front of the whole world in that hearing, in that public testimony, a public hearing in Helsinki. I think that's all inappropriate. And the notion that this president has done everything possible to undermine that investigation, from firing Comey to trying to undermine Mueller, to me, that does not seem appropriate.
Do you believe that a Russian conspiracy without actual evidence of a crime being committed, is enough to oust him from office?
Listen, you're going to get me into those conversations where I've not reached a final conclusion. What I do know this, I've been around politics a long time, just as you have.
Yeah.
I have never in my lifetime seen a presidential campaign from a person of either party have this much outreach to a foreign country, and a foreign country that the intelligence community and our committee has validated, intervene massively in our election and intervene with an attempt to help one candidate, Donald Trump, and to hurt another candidate, Hillary Clinton.
Sounds like you've made a conclusion. You're close to a conclusion.
Those are the facts that we have all agreed to on a bipartisan basis. Okay. What level of collaboration, collusion, cooperation? We've clearly got repeated efforts from the Russians. Okay. We clearly have evidence from Donald Trump's own son saying he would welcome that information. But again, I'm going to reserve my final judgment till we collect all the information. And candidly, some of the key people that we want to see are still caught up in the Mueller criminal investigations, and those criminal investigations need to conclude before we get a chance to talk to them.
Mark Warner, the top Democrat on the Senate Intelligence Committee, thanks for coming on and sharing your views, sir. Much appreciated.
Thank you, Chuck.
Hey, NBC News fans, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here, and then click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.